You're unmuting.
Yes, we have unmuted.
I'll press the tweet button.
Thank you, Brent.
Okay, we have unmuted. I'm double checking. Okay, it's good. And I'm switching in.
Oh?
We're live.
Welcome, Crusaders.
All right, guys. So welcome to our first live stream on Twitch. We have some really exciting stuff for you today. Let's introduce ourselves. First, I am Stephen Lumpkin. I'm the lead level designer for Warhammer 40,000 Eternal Crusade, and next to me is...
I'm Brent Ellison. I'm the lead game designer.
My name is Patrick Baltazar. I'm the lead programmer.
Yeah, we'll have some special guests as time goes on.
Yeah. So what's the plan, guys?
Well, the first thing I need to do is go through the laundry list of qualifications.
Yes.
So that everyone understands what we're showing today.
Very much so.
I need to remind you all that, of course, we are in a pre-alpha state. I see the word alpha being thrown around a lot. We're not actually at alpha yet. This is pre-alpha. We're basically ending our pre-production, but we're in a very good state. And we're going to be showing you some awesome real gameplay from the game. Everything you see, models, lighting, animations, FX, is all early, subject to change. Of course, the big focus is we want to have great gameplay. And so you can see everything like it's going to be in the real game. Of course, we'll be modifying it as time goes on. You'll see a character that are going to be switched over to motion capture. If you remember, we put some motion capture videos up a while back. And so all the animations are going to change over to be more realistic and better. And all that's going to be happening this summer. Is there anything I forgot about?
Well, as time goes on, we're going to show more actual like capturing and territory control mechanics, of which you will not be able to see any today. We're not in a state where we feel comfortable sharing that with you yet. But you can actually go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Eternal Crusade, and look at some of the videos we've posted where you'll get to see lots of gray box stuff, which is very exciting for us because it's so early that my team hasn't even given the stuff to the art team to make it look good yet. But it helps us really learn how to make a game that's fun to play.
Yep. There's no gray boxes in today's environment, unfortunately.
I know you're going to be disappointed by that.
Yeah, it's all proper buildings and things. Of course, it's a test ground, so it's not meant for real combat. It's just so that we can try out all the different game features. Yes. You have anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm just responding to the request of putting on the hat.
Oh, okay.
But people, you must understand, this guy is really small. My head is just too big. Too much stupid stuff in there. So I've done it. It's going back here.
Oh no, Patrick! Now chat knows that they own you. You know,
fine.
I feel like it's time for us to show you what we've never shown on a live stream before, and move over to the game.
Right, I'm fading.
So here we are. Here's our test environment.
I have the Tactical Marine set up right here. This is a Dark Angel, obviously. You'll see, like I mentioned, he's missing the customization, but we'll be showing some of that stuff in the next few weeks. But give him a run around. I'm equipping a bolt gun. I have some friends somewhere around here. Stephen and Patrick are going over my head. Okay, sorry, evil Pata. Yeah, you should join the game. Let's see.
Wait a second, guys. I'm just want to confirm, is the sound okay with everyone? We talking and game sound?
Yeah.
Stomping is too loud. I'm gonna try to turn it a little less loud.
Okay.
How about now-ish?
Some people say, yeah, sounds are too loud. Yes, sound is great. So some people are saying it's okay, but it's
Okay.
with the adjustment.
Turn the in-game sound down a little. Is the plan?
That was the thing I, in theory, just did.
We've just done that.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, so this guy is a tactical, and who is that? Patrick?
Yes.
Patrick is this Chaos Assault Marine.
What do you want me to be, Brent?
Let's see. You're going to be on my side,
Okay,
so
Space
why don't you go Assault as well?
Ultramarines?
Yeah.
Ultramarines!
Ultra Smurfs.
Okay. So, I can shoot, I can roll, I can run around the environment. I'll do a little bit of the geo-nav, hopping over stuff. We can climb up. Let's see. I can switch to my pistol and knife.
I just spawned over here at the Rhino.
Fight some chaos.
Oh. Or should I fight back or?
You can if you want.
Can you dance
Got
for
it.
it?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Alright, I'll finish.
I deserve this clearly.
Alright, I apologize. Yeah, I guess should we just start with what do you guys want to see?
We've actually got some questions from the founders on our forum. So as you guys are dropping questions in Twitch chat, you can also throw questions to us from Twitter with the hashtag 40K Crusade. I'll be looking at that. But we asked in our founders lounge what questions the founders had for us. Volpas was one of our first respondents, and he or she asked, will there be any kind of upgrades or stuff to purchase for our vehicles, like weapon upgrades?
Okay, alright, so I'll start. This is a good intro for us to go over and take a look at some of the vehicles. So right now, we've spawned a Rhino and a Predator. These are both untextured at the moment because they'll take on the appearance of whoever spawned them. Like you'll have a Ultramarine Predator or Blood Angels Rhino, depending on who spawned them. And so as you can see, this guy is currently equipped with the autocannons and the heavy bolters, and there's even a storm bolter on top. Here on top turret. And so this, of course, is just one sort of loadout that you can have on a Predator. We haven't worked out yet whether we're going to give you, at launch, the full customization or give you sort of a range of options to unlock, like different specific loadouts. But vehicle progression is intended to provide something that you can expect for.
You want to drive around a little bit and show what it's like? You driving and me shooting?
Yeah. Sponsons or something. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, we
have roadkills?
Oh yeah, I can run over.
Yeah. Patrick, come here.
Yeah. Of course they do damage when they slam into each other and things like that. The Rhino...
Well, that's 20 XP. Did you get XP for that?
Did I?
I got a pop of it.
Okay.
Plus 20 XP.
The Rhinos and everything have multiple hitboxes, so you can do more damage than that. We're taking a look at whether we want to or not. But the intention of these things... Oh, we have feedback on our mic.
Yeah, it's too loud.
Okay. Should we push it away, or is it coming into that?
No, the
It's maybe from the last
it's not the mic, it's the game. They're saying that the shooting in the game is too loud.
Oh. Sorry,
Is
guys.
it any better now?
Here I'm shooting and talking at the same time. Is the in-game shooting still too loud? Someone I saw in chat asked, is this an arena shooter like Counter-Strike, or is it an open world game? This is a massively multiplayer online game. It's completely open world where you can drive across entire continents of multiple kilometers in length and width. Yeah, sound is better. Good. Good. Yeah.
You can jump in it, yeah. Yes, it's intended as a sandbox style MMO. So you will have an entire continent and be able to go anywhere on it as long as someone doesn't kill you.
Is multi-crewing working? Saitowski, I am currently controlling the Stormbolter on top, and Brent is currently in the driver's seat.
Yep, the intention is to have it be a social experience. So it's not like you spawn a Predator and then you just go and you destroy people. You get a bunch of people together, and then you're sort of this boat of death going across the land, blowing everybody apart. So I can offer the sponsons right now. You'll note that we're using a first-person view for the sponsons. It's very difficult to find a good third-person view.
And do we have friendly fire on our vehicle?
Oh, of course. Yeah, there's full friendly fire. However, there will be friendly fire consequences naturally, but it's difficult to have a proper warfare-style game without a friendly fire system.
Yeah.
Now, there are some edge cases that we're going to be evaluating, of course, free characters, etc. But that's something we'll be working with as time goes on. Hey!
Get him! Come on, Bolter. Slam into him. You can actually see, I think we took damage from slamming into Patrick.
Oh, actually, you're an assault, right?
I am.
You want to toss a crack grenade at him?
Ooh, yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Or just do that.
Yeah.
How do I get to there? It is crack grenade. And what is it?
F. Make sure you hit him. It'll stick to him.
Okay. Here I go.
It's on there somewhere on the side. He totally.
What? I'll go get another one. I'm gonna actually come over here to an ammo crate.
Oh yeah, I'll go catch up with him.
While we're doing this,
Where'd you go? Oh, you'll know we have suspension on the vehicles and things like that.
Yeah.
So obviously there's some tuning to do, but the treads and things do it. Stay in box.
It's not just a metal.
It's also
Crack me.
yeah.
You don't need to do
Like that.
You missed.
That
What
went
missed
completely
again?
through
How
it.
did it miss?
You were too close.
I'll do it
Brent.
later. I'll do it. Oh yeah.
No, you don't.
Brent has been sloshed by.
I ran myself over. I'm sorry, guys.
Brent,
I swear I've played
This
this
is
game
my
before.
chaos.
while we're waiting for you to respawn, we have another question from the forums. Gordle Gut Smash asks, considering the lore of the different factions, to what degree will the vehicles will reflect their peculiarity?
Oh yeah, so the vehicles in particular, yes, are going to be related to faction. Of course, the Eldar don't take anything to the field that's tracked or with wheels. They're riding around on jet bikes. They have grav, things like that. So we're and of course the Orc vehicles need to take into account their peculiarities. Like longtime Orc fans familiar with the ramshackle rule, that will be a factor. So yeah, I mean, what you would expect from their vehicles, like we'll be having sort of similar roles of vehicles, but they'll take on the unique properties that you would expect from that.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
A very popular question that we can address very quickly is, when do we expect to be able to show some Orc and Eldar?
Yep. So there's some work being done right now to get the Eldar and Orcs into the game properly, where we'll be able to run around with them. And then as soon as we can show you guys something that we think is representative of their experience, then we'll be working. Let's see. In the next couple, end of summer or something
Before
like
the
that.
end of the year for certain.
David can give you more information, but we are all very eager to have the Orcs and the Eldar in the game, and I just saw the Eldar getting executed earlier, which of course for you Eldar, I know that's probably not the most exciting part, but it means that they are being integrated into an actual
I want to see the
gameplay.
executions.
Yes, exactly.
Let me see if I can pull a question from Twitter here. Oh, here's a cool one. Marianne Rusu at Comic Book Guy 13 asks, will we be able to dual wield like 2 power swords or a combination of a bolt pistol and a plasma pistol? So actually, you can see some of that here right now, Marianne, where Grant is a chainsaw and pistol. Tell us a little bit about what kind of loadout changes you'll be able to make for your assault.
So the first things we're putting in are the stances that are like pistol and melee, and then we're also going to be working on some two-handed stuff like executioner's glaives, thunder hammers, etc. The dual stuff is super cool, and we're going to be getting to that when we get to it, but we're doing the more sort of iconic stuff first, and then we'll be doing things that are more like dual pistols, dual melee weapons, etc.
Do you think I would be able to spawn with a chainsaw and a plasma pistol, for example?
Well, yeah. That's yes. You can definitely spawn with a chainsword and a plasma pistol. Pistol and melee together is sort of a big thing for this game. Like everybody is expected to use some melee and some ranged. It's just a question of the percentage and direction. But the game is totally focused on that. On the mouse, by default, of course, you'll be able to adjust your controls. The left mouse button is always shooting, and the right mouse button is always some sort of melee attack, so that you can properly engage in that instantly when it happens. And on the gamepad, we're using the triggers for melee, or the triggers for range, so left trigger aim, right trigger shoot, and the LB and RB for melee, so left button guard, right button
Oh, I just saw a good one from I4TV. Question: will Dark Angel troops get roads?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on some cloth elements and stuff. I think we could probably get David or Eastlake at some point to answer those sorts of questions. Yeah, I mean, they have to look like Dark Angels, or we will not. We will not be respecting the IP.
Catan Overlord from the Founders Lounge asks, oh, we just did that one. When do you expect to see Orca Dark gameplay? By the end of the summer, early fall, certainly before the end of the year. It's something we're actually...
Guard?
We're starting animations for the Eldar right now, and once we have that looking good enough that we think we can show the apps. Wobbly, actually, this is a great lineup with what we're demonstrating right now.
Okay.
Is there any form of soft block or aim assist on melee attacks? If I swing my chainsaw, will I hit everything in the area, or will an attack be locked to a single target?
I'll show you. Oh, very nice. That's the battle cry. It's its own button. It's D-pad up on the gamepad, and I think Q for now on the keyboard, just so that you can at any time hit one button to show your support for or against the Emperor. All right. Oh, I need you, Lord Pato, because you are a villain. So we have basically an auto aim system for getting close to your, like approaching your target. So you'll notice that when I get close, there's an indicator. Of course, we'll work on that indicator. No, he was demonstrating what the melee is. So you'll notice that as soon as you see that marker, you can attack them. The attack itself is actually, the attack itself is actually a AoE. So if there's somebody else there, you'll hit them, but you're centering it on a particular target. You'll notice that he was guarding just then. If you want to put your guard back up, if somebody is persistently guarding, then you can give them boot, bam, break it, and then continue with your attack. But yeah, the intention is that a lot of the gameplay around melee is more about timing and choices. So like when you approach a guy, depending on what weapon he is, mic needs to be louder. Sorry.
Yep. I was just seeing a little bit of that in chat. Will there be better voltage sound?
How is it now?
I saw someone ask, will there be better voltage sound? As we mentioned at the very start of this stream, everything you see here is a work in progress. We are not even at an alpha state yet, we're at pre-alpha. So voltage sounds, chainsword sounds, battle cries, animations, character models, environment, all of it is going to look and feel and sound much better than you see right now. And this is actually, it's already much improved over what we've shown in the past. So I hope you guys can see. Always we're evolving with what we're going to be delivering at Eternal Crusade.
Things like in a game production, things like the sounds of the guns that are so important that they're the sort of things you expect to keep working on basically up until launch. Because there's always something where you submit it and you put it in the game and you're like, that sounds pretty good, but you don't know until you've had a little distance from it and you hear it again. And so it's a constant iterative process.
Yeah. Continuing with our melee conversation, Abonobashi from the forums asked, and I see a couple people asking in the chat, can you tell us more about weapon collision like we saw in the recent IGN video, where like your swords clash off of each other?
Okay.
Is this just experimentation? Is the plan to happen every time? In what ways are we pushing melee combat to be more interactive experience? 3, 2, 1, clang. So that's what we're talking about right there, is the two weapons clashed against each other. There are a few games, I won't name any of them, but where you often get the experience of both characters hitting each other and dealing damage at the same time and staggering at the same time, and that just never feels good. So we have a mechanic whereby if the two characters are swinging at the exact same time, depending on the force values of the weapons, they will clang against each other and fall back. Now that's if the two weapons are very close to each other. If it's something like I'm swinging a combat knife and you're swinging a thunderhammer at the same time, of course the thunderhammer is going to win. But the intention there is to not create the scenario where two people damage and stagger each other. It doesn't feel good. Now there is a slight problem with the timings right now where it can be very common that you end up clanging over and over again, as you saw in the IGN video. And we're going to address that with some of the timings. Like, for example, if you guard an attack and the guy comes in, frequently you will both then want to attack immediately afterwards. So we'll probably put a sort of
a tweak on those timings so that, for example, the guard person gets the advantage, and therefore, if they swing, they're not going to climb, but get through before the other person does. So it's the sort of thing that we need to address as we iterate on that.
Two interesting questions. Cloudister asks, can Space Marines have a helmetless option?
Yes, of course.
Excellent. And Art Reaper actually asked a question for me. He asks, will terrain be destroyable like in 40K? So what we want, because we're a persistent game.
Oh.
We're a persistent
you wanna
game,
see it?
And the challenge
Bring
with
it
that
on.
is that it's hard to tell when terrain gets built if you can destroy it. It's also a big technical problem. So, like when you look at this environment, what you see here will not be destroyable, but there will be elements to all of our outposts and fortresses that you can bring your heavy weaponry to attack and destroy it, to either open up new passages, or maybe you can collapse something and block off a passage. We're looking at ways to bring sort of destructible environment in a controlled way that lets players feel like it's an interesting choice over what they choose to destroy and what they choose to defend, instead of just having it be everything gets razed to the ground and then you're just fighting over rubble. Let me see if there's another question on Twitter. Someone was asking what we're planning on showing here today. Today's live stream is all about combat and vehicle mechanics.
Yeah.
Do the tanks explode?
Oh,
Do the tanks
yeah, we should probably
should
explode the
definitely
tank.
show that.
Okay.
I'm coming up with tanks.
Have we shown one character holding block and the other attacking the melee yet? That was a question from Christopher Black at Venus.
Did. I can show it again. Where you go?
And bottom up.
Oh, he's on fire.
Blow him up.
So, oh, it killed him. Yeah, so what you see when you are in an exploding vehicle is it's on fire and it's about to explode, so you better get out or you die.
And you're too closest to that.
Yeah, exactly. And orc vehicles will likely have additional properties when you're in that state.
And someone was asking if Devastators will be able to block and melee, and yes. At the moment, every class has a melee attack and a guarding option. Is that going to be for launch as well?
Yeah, yes, although different people are better at it. Like obviously, so there's a guard bomb, and when you guard, it takes damage so that it can come back. And of course, if somebody breaks it, then you're staggered and can't block for a certain amount of time. Some guys are better at that than others, so you can expect Devastators and like tacticals to not be able to guard as long. They need to do something else to get out of the way, like shoot the person. And most of these weapons that you see right now are, of course, not very good at guarding against bullets. But when we put the storm shields in, that's the sort of thing where you can expect the player to actually be able to do something worthwhile, charging forward with the storm shield in front of them, taking less damage, etc. Or rather, potentially taking no damage, as long as the guard bar stays up.
Plus 100 XP. Hooray!
So he's finishing him off. I will demonstrate one more mechanic. So when you reach 0 hit points, you go down. But if someone rescues you, which I go right now.
Can't believe that. Traitorous duplicitousness. And I'm healed.
Devastator will use a different animation. We're going to be tweaking the Devastator animations in particular. They do a few little things that they call two-team fortressy, make them a little bit more like the Devastator. So you notice that you can use low cover and things like that in order to brace yourself. That's recoil.
Yeah. Can Devastators roll like I was?
The Devastators have a short hop. We're going to be working on making sure that feels right. Longer cooldown or things like that. Obviously, you should not be able to hop around like Frogger when somebody's coming after you. You want to suppress me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. The purpose of a Devastator. Let's take a look. We actually have
Don't need to hit you
There's a
for that.
little bit. Yeah. You can see how the screen shakes as Patrick shoots a meter. Right.
Yeah. We need to pump that up significantly. The goal of the suppression mechanic is so that a person can successfully fire back when being suppressed, and that includes being behind cover.
You know what? I actually look like on my screen I'm getting more suppressed than you look like on your screen.
Okay.
Will there be gender options for Eldar?
Yes.
Yes. We have a great question here from the forums, from the Founders Forum. Algernon Satonix asks, after successfully capturing a supply base, will there be a grace period when the base is uncapturable? And we've decided on an interesting mechanism where bases have a state at which they are not, like, the attackers have effectively taken over the base, but the base does not belong to the attackers yet, and therefore you cannot yet launch an assault from the base on it. So it's not that there's a grace period where it's uncapturable, but there's a grace period where the attackers who just captured the base defend it in order to then later be able to move forward and continue capturing.
This is our cover system. As you know, it's not sticky cover, it's context like you see in Battlefield or Far Cry, things like that. Or outside.
Psychotsky asks, will the spawning system be player-driven? Will players be able to deploy vehicles, command posts, teleport homers, where members of their strike force can spawn?
There's a mobile spawn right over there that I've deployed. This is a basic Rhino, but the intention is that we have both a regular Rhino and something more like the Damocles that allows you to redeploy that.
Yep.
So
I'm
this
actually respawning there, right? Here right now.
Yeah. You can see that I've deployed it, and that's why the thing is moving around. If I get in, I can undeploy at any time and take it.
I'm gonna ride with him. And now I'm controlling the stone bolts on top.
Those are temporary spawn tabs. So basically, you go up to them, you spend some of your requisition points, and then you create the vehicle, fights, predator.
Ghostface asks a question for me. What about locations in the game? Will there be many memorable places, like ruins, destroyed cities, and destroyed titans? One of the things that my team is very keen on is building Titan pieces, Titan components, and then making sure that we have ruined Titan graveyard. Because I think that's going to be a super exciting thing to see. There will absolutely be memorable places for ruined places. There are 4 categories of scale of location that we are creating in the game. The smallest is called an outpost, which is something kind of on the scale of here, where there's only a couple of capturable points, maybe even few as only one, and it's really for it just controls territory where it either maintains a defensive position on a road or a choke point or something like that, but it doesn't do a whole lot else for you. You can still spawn there, you might be able to spawn there. Going upwards in size and intensity are our depots. And depots actually provide what's called supply from nearby fortresses and strongholds. And supply is a resource that causes destruction to repair more quickly. So if you destroy static turrets on a fortress and they'll have supply, then it will be able to repair those. And more ammunition on static turrets. There's a couple of things that supply affect. And then fortresses are like big, chunky, important locations of interest. Do fortresses have towers attached to them as well? So when you capture certain fortresses, you'll actually get strategic powers that your commanders can actually use and activate in order to swing battles in one or another. And then the strongest, most hard to capture locations in our game that require the biggest effort from capturing are called strongholds, and they're where you're going to find those 500 versus 500 player battles that we're aiming to start testing sometime winter. And that's where you have to bring as much heavy armor as possible, use as many tactics from as many classes and squads as possible, call in all sorts of heroes, call in commander powers. We want that to be a huge amount of spectacle and trying to take this on. Our mic is breaking up. Sorry about that, guys. Everything looks okay on our side, but we'll see if there's something. Psych 2 Wazgrim asks, if you plan to have hard spawn location, how do you plan on doing spawn and base camp?
What? I thought that was a question for you.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was for you. We have thought long and hard about this, clearly. No. So one of the things we have right now, guys, for anti-spawn camping is that our spawn buildings are large and they have a lot of exits. So it's not like our attackers are going to be able to camp a single exit and prevent getting out. Other than that, we've been looking into some other options as far as like having potentially multiple spawns, or defenders can certainly bring their own mobile spawns. It's something that we are aware of and we definitely don't want to have happen, but kind of the easiest way for us to manage that is to feed in game with a large number of players in a realistic sort of environment and see how we can interact with it.
I don't think that attack is working. Stop that.
Lead us from death to victory.
I've seen a couple people on Twitter asking if we will eventually add more Space Marine factions, such as Sisters of Battle and or Grey Knights. And I know a number of people are wondering about their own favorite faction, like the Tau. I see referenced a lot. Once we've launched the game and we are looking at content to continue rolling out over the lifetime of the game, we actually are hoping that we'll be able to include every playable tabletop faction in Eternal Crusade at some point. You want to talk a little bit more about our hopes there, Brent?
Yeah, it's just a matter of what we do first, not what we do. So, like, the whole game is being designed, like, where there are 4 factions to start, but we don't think of it as a 4-faction game. We think of it as a potentially infinite faction. So all the systems and everything are meant to support more and more over time, including the possibility for players to, like, ally, have different goals, etc.
Someone was asking, I just saw it.
Note that when you're down, if you really don't want to have somebody rescue you, then you can try to bleed out quicker. We made it so that it wasn't like an instant death because we wanted to dodge someone on execution. All the stuff around the death and like rescue system right now is waiting the support classes coming in, because of course the role of the support guys is more to handle that part of the game. So we're looking at some systems like anyone can rescue you once, but then you need to have a med pack used on you, or those sorts of things. And once the support classes come in, which should be hopefully by the end of the summer, then it will be clearer to us what.
Someone was asking, Steel Rain, will we have drop pods for the Emperor?
Yes, the intention is to use the drop pods as a expensive tactical way for you to get somewhere that you haven't necessarily placed as a mobile spawn point or that you own or anything like that. Of course, there will also be blockers that prevent you, so you can't just always go right behind the walls of the fortress. You may need to take something out.
I've seen a bunch of people, and there's someone in chat right now asking, is the game the same as Space Marine? And Space Marine is a big inspiration for us, and where we started with all of our combat assumptions. But there are absolutely some areas where we're beginning to diverge from Space Marine, and we will only continue to do that as we continue developing.
Yep.
Let me swap over to the Assault class and show you some of the cool stuff the Assault can do that is absolutely not in Space Marine.
Yeah. Well, vehicles are in Space Marine.
Yes. Space Marine is not an open world.
Yeah. We have a huge amount of players potential. Like we're aiming for like 500 and 500 matches, and also the overall like flavor of the game is generally more tactical than a sort of deathmatch. So like we're adding more options, like slowing down the pace a little bit compared to Space Marine, because we want it to feel more like a game where like strategy and being outthinking your opponent on one point.
So if you take a look over at the man in the Bronx, I can actually leap into the air and then get a second boost in order to continue and to control my fall a little bit better. And let me see if I can actually run over to something I can jump off of. We've also to wall. Whoa. Area. So, and you can bound off of the wall like that. And actually, you can use that to get higher than you would normally be able to. So we've built a couple of test environments, test levels where players can jump off of walls in order to get up to a really high spot that other players are not able to get to. Things like that. Miyuko-Ped had another melee combat question, lots of melee combat questions from the Founders Forum. Will the effectiveness of blocking and parrying change depending on the weapons involved?
Yep. Actually, I think we mentioned it earlier, but basically, like when you're using a gun to block, then you are not going to be great at it. So, like I mentioned, there's a guard meter, and the force of the incoming attack decides how much it takes away. So, for example, a chainsword or a thunderhammer have different amounts of incoming force, and you can expect like that.
Bombs breaking up.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to continue looking at our sound for
Yeah, for sure. So, like, if you try to hold a bolt gun there for a long time against something like a... Oh, hello. What's this? Oh! Oh! This is very exciting.
Did we get something?
Our orcs.
Oh, yay!
Orcs just came in for us. Very exciting for us. Michael Chan and I both picked up the Orcs Codex the day it came out. And looks like we have a few goodies to dig through. Anyway, so what was that? Oh yeah, about the bolt gun. So yeah, if you hold a bolt gun and someone is swinging a thunderhammer, you might block 1 or 2 attacks before your guard breaks and you can't guard for a certain amount of time. Whereas if you are using a storm shield, for example, and you're holding that, it's going to hold up against a lot more.
I saw Vigilia Mortis in chat asking, can I be a ground-based assault guy with the storm shield and the melee weapon? What kind of options are you going to provide for that?
So if you are a ground-based guy, then you will probably want, and it depends on your situation. Sometimes you will want some way to get to the front, and you'll be concerned about building that into your loadout. Like, for example, you might want a storm shield so that you can actually get where you want to go, which is something the jump pack normally provides you. Alternatively, you may have some other mode of transportation that you're going to get there. For example, you may be jumping in a rhino, and you intend to pop out and chop people to pieces once you get into the stronghold. Or you may be jumping on a bike and using that. So our intention is to make a non-jump pack assault build with a bike viable for reaching combat. And by not taking the jump pack, then you are potentially able to bring either more survivability or more offense in the points-based system.
Can you tell us more about the points-based system?
Oh, all right. So anything that you put in your loadout takes points. So the intention is that this is a PvP game. We have purely horizontal progression as much as is possible. And so anytime you want to equip something, I'm tempted. I might just show you something really, really quick.
Oh, man.
We've been prototyping this. So I'm just going to quickly show you, just so you get a really fast idea of what this sort of thing looks like. But this is a prototype that Nicholas and them are working on, and we'll be able to show you more about it later. But
this is so new, it's like bleeding, guys.
yeah. We didn't actually tell them.
You're getting a secret sneak peek.
Yeah, exactly. So as you can see, we have points. Everything uses points, and you can bring a certain amount. Right now, we're talking about 1,000. So everything that you sort of like put onto your build costs points. Your weapons, what sort of consumable pockets you bring, and things like that. And then that basically determines what you have in the field. And so weapons can cost a lot, or you could go for a cheaper weapon or bring more accessories that bring better survivability. But the intention is that there are lots of different routes you can go down. Each of the classes effectively is more of a bucket than a really strict thing. So like you have your overall progression tree that actually covers a number of different classes, and so some accessories you can share across them, and they're just restricted by which ones which class they're intended for. So like there may be some that are specifically for assault and give them certain assault-based powers. There may be some that give more survivability than we want to allow for the assault, so those are specifically for tactical.
DNS Law, Ison's DNS, asks, can you shed some light on hero classes, loadout and playstyle wise?
Yep. So the hero classes, the intention behind the hero classes is to allow these epic characters into the game. But in a massively multiplayer persistent world, it would be easy under a normal system for things like librarians, chaplains to become commonplace. And we don't want that. We want it to seem like when you see a librarian on the field, we are able to give them the stat and basically the stat budget and the power budget to really make a difference and be terrifying. And then when you kill this guy, of course, you get much more XP. And so what you can do is you can earn hero classes, and then the hero class can be manifested periodically on the battlefield with cooldown and a certain amount of RP. Now, if you're familiar with what we've talked about with the whole RP system in general, the intention is that an individual accumulates RP requisition points at a fixed rate daily, up to a cap. The cap may be on a week basis, maybe on several days. We're still working with the specifics. But that's your individual ability to bring things to the field. However, you are not just an individual in the war. You have a faction, you have a strike force, etc. So the faction, including the faction council, gets access to an RP budget as well. And they can push that RP budget to specific locations or to specific armies and allow those people to spawn things more often. And so you can go around, you can spawn your predator, you can do whatever you want, but if you are acting in the interest of the faction, then they may give you access to more RP to attack from a specific location. And we're still working on it. That may extend to heroes as well, so that if you have community backing or some sort of specific circumstances, you can spawn heroes more.
Another great question from our Founders Lounge. Phelan Stonewolf asks, how will special chapter-specific classes be handled that don't fit the current list? For example, a wolf priest is both a chaplain and an apothecary.
Yeah. So if we had a space wolf apothecary in our game, well, we just couldn't. We'd be in big trouble. So we're not going to break the lore there. We've been having the conversation about that one specifically, and we're still working on what our final solution will be. We intend there to be chapter-specific classes in the game. We're just working out what fits in the sort of basic class role of support for these space. Sanguinary Priest, for example, I can say yes.
I got a great question from Wounded Badger 0317. How much will each faction cost after game purchase? Guys, if you've bought the game, you have all 4 factions. You do not have to buy them separately. When you buy the game, when you buy a Founders Pack, you can go buy a Founders Pack right now if you're so inclined. When you buy a Founders Pack, you have access to every faction, all of the classes from that faction, all of the vehicles from that faction. There are a couple of items that are Founders only, but if you buy now, then you're a Founder and you have access to all of those items. But there is more in-game than is Founder specific. So the vast majority of what everybody can play with in-game is available with no extra charge.
Yeah.
We consider ourselves to be using a monetization model like Guild Wars 2, where we're a premium game. If you buy the box, you've got the game. And it just so happens we have a cash shop that, if you want to buy some cosmetic items, then that option is available to you. And because we know not everybody is really keen on buying the game to play it, we have a free-to-play option where orcs can be played for free, or a limited subset of orc classes.
Human is out there and he's arguing to take his orc.
Yep, we're missing out.
Yeah, if he gets the boys, I only have like 60 boys myself. I have to.
More questions?
Okay, let's take some. He's got a Gorkanaut right there. We like to. All right, Human, explain to everyone on Twitch why you deserve to be the one to take home the Gorkanaut.
I'm a pretty passionate Orc fan, I have to say. I have a nice little mini army of my screen, and I've got a shared army with our 3D artist Alex Valdez, and I have a part with Nicolas Fan. So I think the three of us together, we can gather 7 of these, and that way, let's do this. So,
Okay, we'll get the opinion
if anything,
of
I'll
the
just
Twitch
take
stream.
this. I'll just take this. That'd be
Just
fine.
that,
I'd
nothing
be
else.
fine with just this, to be honest with you. Yeah.
That one.
Especially when it's pink.
Of course, it needs to go faster.
Yes. Absolutely. Please vote for me to have this.
You should totally go start a poll on the forums. Who should get the Dorkin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is
Yeah,
it
we have two,
the
right?
Booman or is it Brent?
Oh, we have four.
So
Oh,
I
damn,
think
okay.
it's okay.
Yeah, we might be on. Let's get this Twitch stream done, guys.
We've got another 15 minutes where we're
I kid,
locked
I
in
kid.
here, unable to ravage the
Some
world.
stuff.
Yeah.
Dr. Slump B asked on the Founders Forum. I
That is
know.
old school.
That's great. How do you
Yeah.
plan on making the distinctive feel for each faction in combat? Different moves, combos, how does that work?
Okay, so I'll give you an example of the Eldar, of course. The Eldar are, if you know anything about the Eldar, of course, they have a shuriken catapult. And unlike a bolt gun, a shuriken catapult has a much more specific purpose. And so in general, you can expect weapons of the Eldar to be more focused. In fact, they have more classes than any of the other factions, but each class has a smaller range of customization because an aspect warrior is very focused on a particular type of combat. And so when you think of a shuriken catapult versus a bolt gun, it shoots farther and it's more all-purpose, whereas a shuriken catapult is very close range, but shreds its targets. So the Eldar are very good at short range, and they're very good at long range with some of their units like the Dark Reaper, but they are sort of weaker in the middle. And so it's up to them to overcome this. Of course, they have some of the fastest bikes in the game. So, for example, you can ride a jet bike to where you need to go. And they have a strong focus on psychers as well as chaos, where they'll be able to more easily access things that like shut down or weaken their target. You can expect, for example, a warlock to be firing their psychic power at some guys at a location. When somebody else fires in, they do more damage. That's the sort of things that support roles do. Whereas the support roles for guys like the Orcs or the Space Marines are tougher and more likely to be getting into a straight-up fight.
These two last questions from the forums are great ones. How are we going to be planning, so Benny first asked, how are we going to plan to make territory control meaningful and persistent? In some other games, he finds that bases are exchanged numerous times a day and it feels like they're not as important. What are we planning on doing for that? And then to tie into that, Slayton the Sly asks, could you also tell us about mid and long-term goals in the campaign system?
Okay, that's for me too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So meaningful territory control is something that has been focusing for us since basically the inception of the project, because we want this to be a David in particular. In fact, did David answer this question?
We could try and ask him. Let me see if David wants to come.
Basically, like having the war in our game on Arcona be meaningful and have there be like permanent feeling results from things you do is one of our biggest focuses. This is a single server world, and so you can't just hop over and go somewhere else and have the war be going the way that you want. If you are an Eldar and you're in this world, you want to push the agenda of the Eldar and make the Eldar as powerful on Arcona as they can possibly be. So this sort of philosophy extends to territory control. One of the things you mentioned earlier was the ways that your territories don't just change hands instantly. You need to sort of hold them and reinforce them for a certain time. And this extends to our campaign as well. But David will talk a bit more about that.
Okay, so what's the question?
It's how do we intend to make territory control meaningful and persistent, and can you tell us about mid and long-term goals in the campaign system? Guys, in case you don't know, this is David Goslin. He's our creative director here on Warhammer 40,000 Eternal Crusade.
Okay, so to answer the question,
First of all, it's a persistent warfare.
Oh, David, you're off to the side.
Yeah, come in a little bit.
So you are fighting for the control of the planet, but you are fighting also for your faction, and each faction will have some objective on this planet. So controlling the planet, controlling the territories is not enough. You need to understand why you are here, why you are fighting, what is at stake on this planet.
I think we need to readjust either the mic or the laptop. You need to talk in here.
Okay.
Maybe move this a little bit over there.
Okay. So I was saying that you need to understand what is at stake on this planet, and that will be through the campaign system. That will be also our main storytelling system. So you will learn more about the planet, about the history of the planet, about why your faction is there, and that's the main goal basically of this war. In addition, controlling the territories will give you access to some resources, will help you basically for the campaign, and the campaign themselves will bring you some war tools, like for example some specific weapons, specific resources that you will be able to use on the battlefield. So winning a campaign will have some impact on the next campaign. Will have some impact on the war. So that will be basically from the consistency. In addition, also you have all the PvE content. The fact that you explore the planet, you will learn its secrets. You will explore some hidden area. You will fight against the Tyranids. So this world is also living. It's not a static world. Not just about taking control of the territories.
Yeah, normally anytime we do play tests, we're testing sort of like capture mechanics and things like that. This is just a outpost, or rather, this is just a testing zone.
It's just a playground. Yeah.
So it doesn't contain any of those.
Here's a great question for you, Brent. Martin Svensson, who is at Crethorian on Twitter, asks, will you guys add grots as a class for the orcs?
At launch, grots are not intended to be playable. I'm sorry to say, because I love grots.
That's one of Brent's dearest hopes.
Yeah, they are intended to be.
Yes.
How will psychic powers work? Bowler Hat Man on Twitter asks, how will psychic powers work?
Okay. I've been working on the psychic power stuff. So, of course, there are different types of psychic powers. A person who goes out to the field has a certain number of warp charges. This is something that does not recharge on its own. You need to either go to a location where you can back and charge, or perform certain tasks depending on which character you are. Loadout that can also recharge your in addition to that, and so every spell you cast has a certain number of warp charges. In addition to that, there is a perils meter that creates a risk towards something bad happening. And you can sort of bleed off your perils by not doing psychic powers over and over and over. Of course, that leaves you unprotected, not as much so if you went full out. The intention with the psychic power system is to make it feel like you have a lot of sort of finesse with what you do, and sort of controlling how you pull it off. So, for example, So, for example, if you want to use a malediction, it's not about you targeting someone going, and then that malediction being on. With a malediction, either you're trying to apply some sort of status effect, or you are keeping them in a bad state. So you can imagine the character, a psychic character, has a melee weapon. Their hand is fire something, power spell. Well, maybe it's weird for like fire something in space, but that's for like. Anyway, the. Okay, I keep backing up. All right. So if I want to, for example, put a curse of flies on some guys over there, I hold my hand out, I switch to the curse of flies power, and I start firing. Creates a arc from my hand to the target, which creates a zone, and then you hold it in that zone, and the guys there now, for example, take more damage whenever anyone else shoots at them. So the second guy holds it out, fires at a particular zone, keeps holding it down as long as other people are firing. And while you're doing that, you're losing warp charge and your perils are building. So you need to really coordinate with other people in order for those maledictions to make a difference. Now, if you're doing something like applying a status effect, like some sort of poison or disease, then poison is also treated like not as something that you instantly apply, but something with a gradient. If you're familiar with the Dark Souls system, that's how it works. You have a certain level of application, so you'll need to hold it down and make sure that it builds up. And then once it builds up to the right moment, then it starts ticking down and doing damage.
The apothecary and also the sorcerer are the next class we are working on.
Yes, that's correct.
So you will be able to see that hopefully soon, and also Patrick.
Yeah.
Not
But
only
we are
on
working
my
on it.
team.
Yeah.
I'm not the only programmer.
Okay.
The most of the work is done by my team.
Yes.
So let's see. Maybe we have time for one last question, and then I think we're going to call an end to the stream. So thank you guys for joining us. No, we're going to talk about that stuff. Yes, certainly. A bunch of people are asking about Lords of War and super heavy vehicles, and at launch we will not have pilotable Lords of War or super heavy vehicles. We need to see how they might fit into the game after launch. The problem is we don't want to invalidate any individual player's experience because
Yeah, definitely.
the experience is primarily an infantry experience. We want you to feel like a badass super soldier of the 41st millennium.
Yeah. If we introduce that kind of vehicle, or let's say that kind of Titan, that will not be for launch, because also we want you to be sure to really not get out of scope too quickly, right? So basically, if we have that kind of vehicle, that will be always from the perspective of the infantry player.
Sorry.
So that means that if we introduce one, that will maybe one for a faction. That's not going to. You are not going to see a battlefield with Titan. That will completely invalidate the infantry experience, and you will worth nothing on the battlefield. So that's really what we want to avoid at the moment.
And let's see. I think that's about it. So, guys, if you liked this stream, then you should come back next week because we've decided we're going to start live streaming something, maybe not the game, but something every week. So Fridays, for now, assume at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, same time we started here today. We're going to see how people feel about that, and if we're like really missing a group of people that really want to be there for the live stream, we might adjust the time or find a couple of times and bounce around. We'll see how that goes. We'll also, of course, we'll try to get a better mic for you guys. I'm sorry. Thank you for putting up with us on our first live stream.
We are planning also to show more of the game regularly, to show you basically our advancement. And Patrick can say more about the features.
There are three main categories we want to improve and show the improvement on those things. First, it's the tech. So we want to drive the quality of the game now that we are in production. We want to increase the graphical quality as much as possible. And the first thing we want to show off is the day-night cycle properly in-game streamed with a realistic time frame, of course. Like the shadows won't move like in 1 minute from day to night and stuff like that.
And a high frame rate. That was one of our mandates for today's stream was frame rate at 30 plus. I think last time we were checking this out, we were at like 50 plus for this entire stream. Obviously, we're super early in development. We're not optimized at all. We really want to make sure the game runs really well for everybody who plays it. So,
Category 1 is set tech. Category 2 will be level design. That means anything art-related that comes into the level. New buildings. We're going to dress up our test environment for you guys to give you an indication how the world could look like later. What we're doing here is not the actual game. It's just a hint of what will be there. We want to show you gimmicks, but we don't want to give you the real thing yet because we're not there yet.
we don't want to spoil it.
That's it. And the third thing will be on the gameplay. Basically, the three categories as we sit here, where we're going to show you new weapons, new tools, and the next thing coming up will be actually the static turrets, the quad gun.
Yeah, the quad gun.
It's super cool.
We have it sort of working. We're gonna polish it a little bit so that you guys don't get like the earliest version, but something that is nice to see.
The gameplay totally works. We just need to polish up the effects.
On the character part also, did you stress out that this is not the final
Yeah. We made a huge.
Yeah.
So let's finish off with another disclaimer. Everything
Yes.
you've seen here today, guys, is all pre-alpha. Everything you see is going to be improving. We're going to add motion capture for the animations. We're going to. I think we have our art team working on a much improved version of the character model with much more detail and much improved dimensions on the character. We're going to eventually have textures on our tanks, if you can imagine that. The environments will get better, the lighting and sky will get better. So everything that we're doing, we're constantly looking at feedback on our videos, on our channels, on our forums, and making sure that we advance in the direction that we want to go and you guys want to see.
And hopefully soon enough they will be able to see an actual battle.
Yep.
We're definitely,
the dev fighting, basically.
yes, we're definitely planning as well to have something like what we have today here, but we're gonna have like basically the whole team log in as well and play with us. Meaning like having like a 10v10 or a 15v15 depending on how many of the team are available and can actually show off the game with you guys.
So let's reintroduce ourselves to finish off the stream.
Wait, there's still more.
Oh, please, Patrick, tell us more.
It's the first stream, that's why this takes at the end always longer than expected. We are, or actually Katie is working on a new contest right now. When and what will be hopefully announced next week already. And the last thing, because Miguel, our dear Lord Miguel, is on vacation, hopefully he's enjoying himself. He cannot be here to answer any questions, but Founders Pack related questions next week, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Miguel will be here to answer them.
Yeah.
Does he know that?
No.
He's on vacation. We didn't
He's
tell
on
him.
vacation,
yeah,
but
He'll come back and
We'll let him know later.
He's gonna. He
All right.
loves that stuff.
And yes, people here are complaining about next gen or current gen. Yes, the current next gen is the current gen.
Yes.
But because there is no next gen, people are still calling it next gen.
Wait, so which one is the next gen right now?
It's Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Okay, not Xbox 2.
No, because there is no such thing.
Okay, guys, so would you care to introduce yourself as we say goodbye to our fans?
Yes, but we already did, right? So I'm the creative director on this project. Basically, my role is to be sure that we are building a great experience, also the correct experience, in line with the 40K universe. I am the guy that is guarding that to be sure that we are not going too far in a direction because of technical issue, that we are making the right choices. And I am lucky enough to have a great team to help me on that. So you know Brent Ellison, our lead game designer, Stephen Lepkin, our lead level designer, and Patrick Balthazar, our lead coder. So with those guys, we are working together for several years now. We know each other, we know how to work together, and hopefully we are going to create a great experience, a great game for you guys.
And to finish us off, feel free to visit our website, which is eternalcrusade.com. If you're interested in the game so far and you're convinced by us and what we're doing, our Founders Packs are currently available for sale. You can buy the game, which will give you access to the game not only at launch, but we also have an early access program that's going to give you access to the game by January at the latest, I think. Maybe before, depending. And
I'm not making any promises.
We are working hard just to be sure that you will get your hand on the games as soon as possible. Just one thing though, because I was watching a little bit the streaming, there is something that they are missing on the right corner. They don't see that part. Is there a way to show them?
The stream doesn't see that right now.
Yes, they don't see actually that we have the vehicle GUI interface. You can see that people are inside the vehicle. And if we can move a little bit the camera, you will see another part of the experience. Yeah. So on the right corner of the screen, Let's see if it's
We're
possible.
using fancy new software.
Yeah. we're not just streaming through OBS, guys. We've actually got a bunch of stuff set up.
Okay. Don't turn the stream
to
on.
look at the double mic.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, that one.
And
then
Stay in the vehicle. Oh, okay.
And then add a position on that, and then
Yeah,
there you go.
here.
So now in the upper right-hand corner, you can see our vehicle GUI.
It's not updated yet.
It takes time.
The
There's a
stream
delay.
takes a little bit.
They are seeing it.
How much did
There's about a 60-second delay on Twitch at all times.
Okay, so maybe Brent, you can explain how that works
Oh,
with the numbers and everything.
yeah, I mean, this is a first pass that Nicholas Brunoni, who we should get at some point, is working with, just to make it very clear what the shape of the vehicle is and where the different components are. So it's different for every vehicle. This is the one for the Rhino, for the Predator, so it shows the driver's seat and the 4 turrets you can use, as well as which locations you can come to. Of course, you can't automatically kick someone out yet. We'll put in some sort of vehicle ownership rules later, but like if you look at the Rhino, for example, it has a lot more passenger seats than a Predator. Predator can hold 5 people, each useful location.
Yep.
But as the vehicle takes damage, then it's reflected in the UI of it. If I drive repeatedly quickly against walls, yeah, but I don't know that that would make for the most dynamic viewing experience.
Maybe someone.
Oh, there we go. See, it's going down. It's going down. So I don't know if this is how we want to close out the stream.
Yep. Should we shout a wah to close us out?
Okay, that's a much more interesting.
All right, wah on 3.
Yeah.
1,
Wait,
two.
I'm not ready.
Oh, God. Oh,
Okay, all right.
Okay, we have to get ready. We can't sit around here awkwardly waiting after our wah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, 1, 2, 3.